Hi, I'm Julie Silbernagel. I'm the Clerk Treasurer for the City of Buffalo.
I'm Teresa Montgomery, and I'm the Clerk Treasurer for the Town of Rolling Hills. A budget is the master financial plan of the municipality, showing the proposed cost for each function of activity and the proposed means of financing them. Its main purposes are to serve as a financial and operational document, to serve as a policy document, and to be used for planning, controlling, and decision-making. A well-defined, sound budgeting process is part of an efficient, effective, and economical government entity. Under Wyoming law, every municipality must adopt a budget.
For instance, if a municipality is 4,000 people or more, or has a city manager form of government, it is required to follow the Uniform Municipal Fiscal Procedures Act. This act requires 3 specific items. 1, a budget message, which is the most important section of the budget. A budget message reveals major assumptions the budget is built on, identifies financial, economic, and inflation factors, identifies opportunities, focuses attention on changes from the last budget in terms of service and funding levels, and establishes an overall message, giving an overview to key issues and priorities. 2, the Act requires budgets for enterprise funds. And 3, 2 years of historical financial information for all budgets.
Towns that are less than 4,000 in population and not operating under a city manager form of government are governed by State Statute 15-2-201, but many choose to adhere to the Uniform Municipal Fiscal Procedures Act. The preparation and adoption of a budget is the responsibility of the governing body. Municipal governments operate under an accounting standard called fund accounting. A fund is defined as a group of accounts that is a separate, self-balancing entity. Revenues and expenditures for specific purposes, such as utilities, construction projects, and other special purpose projects, especially utilizing grants and loans, should be segregated from the general funds of the municipality.
Some benefits of budgeting by fund accounting are: fund accounting provides more meaningful accounting information. If the municipality receives enough federal funds to require an audit, financials will comply with requirements. Funds are organized to identify resources, obligations, revenues, expenditures, and fund equities. Though there are several different types of funds, the 2 most common are the general fund and enterprise funds. The general fund is used for municipal operations that include paying the council, administration, planning, finance, municipal court, legal, community development, public safety, and public works. Enterprise funds are business-type funds that should operate as a separate, self-sustaining business with general operations principally financed through user fees. Most municipalities provide public water supplies and sewer systems, and charge water and sewer customers for providing this service. Some Wyoming communities also operate local electric services, and municipal landfills charge tipping fees or disposal fees for their use.
Here are the basic steps of the budget process. 1. Preparation. Strategic planning is an important first step in developing a municipal budget. After developing a vision for your municipality and setting goals and objectives, the budget process attaches financial resources to your goals. Seeking public input during this time is always helpful and keeps the focus on your constituents. Draft goals can be prepared by the governing body and staff and presented through a public participation process. Goals communicate your community visions, desires, and promises. Adopt final goals for the ensuing fiscal year or multi-year period. These final goals become the roadmap for the direction the governing body wants the municipality to go. Preparation of a budget tied to goals is the next step in the process. Usually, the clerk or treasurer works on the development of a draft budget tied to the final goals. The governing body will have the opportunity to determine if the goals are achievable given revenue and/or time constraints, and to address any compensation issues related to the goals.
The next step is adoption. The budget is approved when the governing body passes the budget ordinance. Once approved, the expenditures become legally binding appropriations, and the actual expenditures must not exceed the amounts budgeted for each category. The rules of an ordinance are as follows. Every ordinance shall be publicly read on 3 different days. At least 10 days must elapse between the introduction and final passage of every ordinance. The ordinance must be published at least once in a newspaper of general circulation. For municipalities that do not have a newspaper, they must post at least 10 days in the clerk's office or other designated locations. Every ordinance is signed by the mayor, attested by the clerk, and recorded in the Book of Ordinances.
The third step of the budget process is execution. Budgetary accounts are set up to record estimated revenues and appropriations in the fund accounts. Appropriations constitute maximum authorizations to spend and cannot be exceeded except by amendment of the budget. By the end of the fiscal year, appropriations that are unspent lapse or go back into reserves.
This is a helpful timetable to refer to. For first-class cities and municipalities over 4,000 in population and city manager form of government, May 1st, department heads submit requests to the budget officer. May 15th, budget officer prepares tentative budget and present to governing body. Third Tuesday in June, governing body holds a budget hearing with notice published. Day of hearing or the day after, governing body adopts budget by resolution or ordinance. By July 31st, tax levy certified to county commissioners.
For towns under 4,000 in population not operating under the city manager form of government, last quarter of the fiscal year, governing body passes an appropriation ordinance. By the 4th Monday in May, tax levy certified to county commissioners. Here's a helpful checklist for budget creation. Is the budget message informative and easy to read? Does the budget message address major issues? Does the budget include an overall mission statement? Does the budget include overall goal statements?
As an elected official, you are responsible for the adoption of the municipal budget. It is the staff's responsibility to explain things in a clear, understandable manner. That said, don't ever be afraid to ask questions. Here are some things to consider. Was notice of the budget hearing given? What will this new program accomplish? Could we contract this service out? How much is the general fund's total operating budget? Thomas Riley, Orange County Board of Supervisors Chair, said this right after the county filed for bankruptcy. I wish I would have listened a bit more, questioned a bit more, and trusted just a little bit less.
Here are some more words to live by. Never overestimate revenues. Our recommendations are to hold departments responsible for their own revenues. Reward departments for finding new revenue sources. Evaluate and adjust fees accordingly. Request grant reimbursements promptly and educate staff about revenues and expenditures.
It's also important to protect your assets while you budget. Devoting money to maintenance and being aware of deferred maintenance decisions is important. Municipalities must use caution when deferring repairs and maintenance because they may end up replacing the asset, which can be far more expensive. Other additional do's and don'ts are: don't inflate revenue or underestimate expenditures. Don't raid reserves and enterprise funds. Don't fail to repay interfund transfers. Don't issue unrealistic policies such as no capital purchases during the next 12 months. Do get rid of the use it or lose it approach. Do nail the budget patterns. Do watch for warning signs, like operating expenditures exceeding revenues by more than 5% in 1 year. Expenditures exceeding revenues for 2 consecutive years, with the second year's deficit being larger than the first. Debt outstanding greater than 90% of the debt limit.
The consideration of cutbacks is a healthy practice. What services should city government provide? How are we financing these services? How should resources be organized to deliver services effectively? What is the most efficient method of providing city services? Are we providing services that aren't needed? Lastly, you should periodically evaluate your budget process and assess the municipality's accomplishments and setbacks on an annual basis.
Don't forget to evaluate the programs by focusing too much on whether you stay within budget. Municipal leaders should get rid of the pressure to do it the way it has always been done. Don't be afraid to reward creativity and try something different, as long as you stay on top of your budget process.